Good morning to you. It's Blasted or Stash It. We thought we were going to go live again, but my schedule got changed. So here we are recording in the morning again. Joe's drinking coffee instead of a little fine beer or his regular normal evening drink. And Paul might be too. I don't know. But we're going to go ahead and get rolling with the comic reviews for you this morning. These are comics from May 29th, right? Yeah, 2019. Yeah. So we'll go ahead and we'll start with Joe, since you've got the most comics to read. We'll review. We'll start with you.
Yeah, something new, Joe, having the most comics.
Yeah.
I keep quite a few. Let's go ahead and talk about. Let's go ahead and get this out of the way. This Heroes in Crisis. What did you do? Like, seriously, this is how you end it? I've always been critical of using time or the holodeck BS storyline. You started with something great, and you really let me down on this one. In case you don't know, another Wally West from another timeline. I think like 5 days is what they said. Like, that's a big significant thing in the spans of time. He did it. And why did he do it? Mental health issues. They don't tell you which ones. And he's also lonely. Thank you for... Yeah, right. Thank you for taking a great concept in the beginning and shortcutting us and then daring us and just charging us this much money for it. However, I did like one thing about the book. I'm not going to totally trash it. I really enjoyed, I think the most thing that I enjoyed about the entire series were these panels where they just had the one superhero saying something or something about some of these heroes. It reads just like the DSM-5, which is the diagnosis for mental health. All of them kind of play a different role in it. That is pretty interesting. I particularly like the Frankenstein saying that, I'm rotting. And it's okay, I get that, both on an emotional and physical level. But the main story itself, screw you. You're horrible people. You will burn in hell. So, yeah, blast.
Yeah, I've been on the fence back and forth throughout this whole 9-issue run. I was like, oh, God, I want to support Tom King. I like some of the panels like you talked about. I love the different Robins. They had different Robins throughout. They talked about Dick was a funny one. Jason's the rebellious one. And I love when it came to Damian and he says, I'm fine. Why? What'd they say? That was pretty funny. The whole thing with the mental health, I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, some people want, when you read the comics, that maybe they have mental health issues. They read the comics. They want the superheroes to not have those issues. Or is it a thing where maybe if they show these powerful people that do have mental issues, it's a way to connect with them. So I don't know where I want to go with that. Like I said, the whole time travel thing, like you said, Joe, too, Sam, it's ridiculous, I think. And I don't know what Booster Gold and Blue Beetle had to...
I like the whole heroes. What was it?
Bros before heroes.
I dig it. That's cool. That's funny.
I think maybe that's the whole reason they were there, to be able to do a little fist bump at the end of that book to make everything right. And it shows them back on the couch, kicking back, drinking a few beers, laughing at a TV show. I don't know what role they really played throughout this whole series, other than maybe making some really bad suggestions on how to fix the problem and comic relief. Mm-hmm. But man, this whole series has been, the art's been great. I've loved the art throughout the whole book. But the whole series has just been pretty much a blast.
Real thing, I found this kind of interesting too. It's the second time in this series that this particular phrase has been used. And it's when Mademoiselle Marie was giving her thing, and it was all in French. And it's the second time King's done this in the series, and it's the same quote. And the quote is, those that Jupiter wants, he begins by taking away their reason. This was a popular phrase to be used in the French Revolution when that was happening. They would spray it everywhere, put it everywhere to signify an uprising. I don't know what his fascination is with that saying, but I went back. I was like, I've heard this before, and I went back and found it. I don't know what that's all about. It really has nothing to do with the story because it talks about revolution, and King is, I assume, dealing with his own mental health issues because he just writes too well about it.
Yeah. What about you, Paul, and the Heroes in Crisis?
I don't have enough words to describe what a piece of fucking shit this was. The whole series was a pass. It was bad. It was lazy with the whole time travel shit. It never should have been. The premise sounded great, and maybe in the hands of a more capable writer, it would have been good, but it is a colossal fucking failure. Fuck Tom King.
Yeah, I remember Jeremy even talking way back when Batman, when Tom King was writing well, he's still writing Batman, but he's constantly having Batman have these mental issues and stuff. I remember Jeremy complaining about that back then, and I was like, it's not so bad. I kind of see it, but it's just getting worse and worse as it's going throughout. One of the other panels I liked with the individual people, you may have liked it too, Joe, is the Detective Chimp. Do you know how many times they've told poop throwing jokes about me? I know, the exact number. Some of those were pretty funny, I thought, but again, overall, it's just been pretty garbage.
The only thing that was halfway decent about that book was the art.
Yeah.
Some of the catchy sayings. I think this would have done better. They always do those encyclopedia series of the different heroes of that year or whatever. Mm-hmm. So you can get to know the heroes or something. If they did something like that where they talked about the superpower stats, blah, 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 and then did these little panels, I think that would make one of those better encyclopedias slightly better.
Yeah.
And maybe they should have just done that instead of trying to throw in a bullshit story in there.
Maybe. So, talking to Tom King, so news is he's off of Batman earlier than expected.
Yeah, I think he was supposed to be 100 issues, and I think it's going to be 85.
Yeah, yeah. And also, I guess he's helping pen the Eternals movie. Not Eternals.
New Gods
movie, yeah, for DC. So maybe we'll see some more of these mental health issues in the New Gods.
I was going to say we'll find the New Gods crying in the corner and some shit
I can't do this.
I'm a chronic masturbator.
Leave Mikey out of this.
Okay, my first book I'll talk about. So nobody else has been reading this, and that is a Cold Blood Samurai. This is issue 3. I think this is a miniseries of 6 issues I looked online. The concept behind this I love because, again, to Cold Blood, thinking like a heartless, ruthless person. By the time about Cold Blood is in a reptile, they're all samurais in feudal Japan, and I have a hard time following because I can't hardly tell the difference between the frogs, who they are, the bad guy, good guy. We know that the one group, one king or whatever he is mad at the samurai because he accidentally let his son die, and therefore he's just running amok and getting these lizards to do his bidding by destroying these little villages and stuff like that. But it's really hard to kind of follow for me. I might follow through with that. It's only 3 more issues, but man, I think you need to sit down and trade and try to really figure it out, or have like a thing like this is this guy, this is Keller, his I don't know what are the outfits they wore in Japan during Samurai. Maybe we know the name, like a Kubota. No, not Kubota.
Bathrobes.
Yeah, bathrobes. That's just about bathrobes. Yeah, that works. Because it's hard to tell the difference between the frogs. So, but the concept's cool. And we'll move on to Paul and the book for you.
We'll do one that I don't think anybody else read, and that's Magnificent Miss Marvel's number 3. I'm still really liking this. I'm really glad I gave it a chance. I'd never read the character before. I really never had any desire to read the character before, but it's been a pretty fun story. I mean, this issue starts, they have like these 3 aliens that have come down to Earth, and they're talking about how she's the savior and has to save their planet. And they transport her and her parents back to their planet, and one of them sacrifices himself in the thing. And, they're talking about how she can save their planet and all this stuff. And turns out that maybe these people are not what they seem. And she escapes with someone they're torturing. Standard stuff that you see in most comic book stories. But it's got some good action, some laughs, and it's a nice light read that it brings me back to when comics just had to be fun. You didn't have to reinvent the wheel. You know, it's just a cool little story that you can just sit down and read in 15 minutes and you're done. So that's a stash for me.
Does it still have like the fart jokes and stuff like that in there? Like I can read the first issue had some fart jokes, didn't it, or poop jokes?
Yeah, it's usually guys. And like in one part, when she rescues the guy that's being tortured, he's they're stealing a spaceship to get out of there, and they're getting into the spaceship, and her mom grabs her and says, "Nope, you can sit in the back with me. Your father can sit with the hot shirtless man." And you know.
Okay,
Joe, you want to give us one that neither one of us read?
Sure, I can do that. Let's talk about probably. Oh, let's see. Oh, yeah, Dark Red #3. Bam. Yeah, this is a good book. Since I've been picking this up, it's been great, and we finally get kind of an origin story about our hero-ish Chip in here. If you haven't been reading this, Chip is basically a vampire who is in the middle of the Midwest someplace, working at a gas station at night. There's a lady that produces way too much blood, so they kind of meet up, and they're kind of friends to kind of help satisfy each other. He gets rid of some of the blood, and it also feeds them. So a Nazi comes into town who's very racist, very white, very Anglo-Saxon, and in the last issue, it left us off with, "Are you a Nazi? Because I hate Nazis." And we find out why. Chip was from World War II. He was a soldier. He was made a vampire there, and kind of use that to help defeat Nazis. So he's kind of got this thing with Nazis. This does not help the main storyline until the very end, when we find out that a Connex truck full of Nazis are on their way to this town. So you're probably wondering, what's the significance about this town? Well, apparently, since Chip is such an old school vampire, he marks his territory. And in order to feed in his territory through their laws or whatever, you have to get his permission. And that's what they were ultimately trying to do. But it looks like the rules are going to get broken. And I just love the art in this, too. It's just a great book. It's a great read. This is a hard stash for me. When I get all of them together, I may end up reading it again. It's fun reading.
Okay. I'll go off with one more that I'm surprised nobody else read. Well, I don't know if I Superman either, because it only comes out like once every 2 or 3 months. That's Doomsday Clock.
On a good day. I mean, it's like 6 months between some issues.
Yeah. I was explaining to my wife last night. I said, this book is just a freaking hard to read. And she asked why. And I said, one, because it just comes out every 2 months. So you always forget what happened in the last freaking book.
I think it was, our show was in double digits when it started.
Yeah, it probably was. So this is, we finally get the official appearance of Mr. Blue Weenie, Mr. Manhattan and Doomsday Clock. He's always been kind of talked about. And it has to do with this character named Carver Coleman, who's an actor. And how his relationship kind of is with him. He met him in 1938. He told him, hey, he was struggling at that time. You're going to get a movie role. You're going to move forward. And he gained a lot of became pretty famous in there. But then he also said that last year, because they met every single year, said, hey, this is what's going to happen this year. This is going to happen this year. And he says, this year, you're not going to see the end of it. And he ended up getting his skull bashed in. He doesn't explain how or why, but it talks about Mr. Manhattan going into the multiverse and changing stuff up. He actually went into 1938 to the original Superman multiverse, and they're talking about, which is kind of cool, the man that lifted a car like a crate of apples, and it shows that old green car that Superman had bashed in the rocks on Action Comics #1. And he talked about meeting the Superman from 1956 and 1980s, and these different Superman, I guess maybe throughout the time, and how they've kind of changed throughout comics. But there's this thing now called the metaverse, I guess, which is the main universe or whatever. And anytime that Mr. Manhattan goes in and changes everything, it changed, like Superman didn't exist. Nobody knows who Superman was. It has some great shots from Golden Age characters. It has the Sandman, the Green Lantern, the original Green Lantern. So they have Jay Garrick, they have Carter Hall, they have Al Pratt, Kent Nelson, Jim Corrigan, Wesley Dodds. So that's kind of cool, and it shows him sitting around, the original Justice Society of America, sitting around a table, talking about trying to invite Superman in, and then all of a sudden now Mr. Manhattan went in and kind of erased Superman, so they don't know who he is. So it's kind of all over the place, but this has been one of the better books. It seems like it actually connects to the rest of the storyline of what they're trying to do and trying to integrate the Doomsday or the Watchmen universe into DC. There's another, I think that's a cover from what is it, the League of Superheroes right there. That's kind of cool.
I remember that one. Yeah.
Yep.
I had to you. Yeah.
So they actually show Flash. Remember how they did and when Rebirth, when that first started, they showed Flash, talking to Batman, the Watchmen button and all that stuff. Flash, it's finally making that connection here, 10 issues in, and a year and a half later? Some crap like that. So it's finally starting to connect. I don't know where you could have started here, as far as I'm concerned, with this and move forward. You don't have to have all the other crap that came up with all the other stories and stuff. That was just crap, I think. But this one is actually not too bad because it does make that connection finally to the DC universe in a way that makes sense. But reading through it, like if you ever watched that Watchmen movie where Dr. Manhattan's talking and explaining, he does a lot through here, through a little dialogue and stuff, which I hear his voice, saying, well, in 1954, I saw him, I did nothing, But it was definitely a better book than the rest of them for sure. So that one's a stash for me this week. Finally, after 10 issues, there's a stash in that book.
10 issues and 18 years. And
I've had 5 children since then. Yeah. Paul, you're up with another book.
Let's do Daredevil number 6. I had missed a couple issues of this new run, so I need to go back and read them. But this was a pretty good jumping on point. It looks like it might be the start of a new arc. I've always been a fan of Daredevil, and the last run was one of the best written Marvel books out there. And they haven't skipped a beat with the new team. I think it's Chip Zdarsky's writing it. It's still one of the better written Marvel books. If you like Daredevil, you'll definitely like it. I mean, he doesn't appear as Daredevil in the entire book. And you get the impression that Daredevil is missing. And there's a cop in the book that they're talking about him bringing down Daredevil. So clearly in the issues I missed, something happened that he's not showing up as Daredevil, but does have Matt in it, And I think they're introducing a new love interest here. So it's the start of a new arc, so it's there's not a whole lot going on as far as the action. It's all set up, but I'm definitely interested in seeing where they go with it.
Is it that detective that showed up in issue 1 of this new run?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. I know what happened. I don't know if it was one of the other guys on the panel that read it fairly recently, or listen to other podcasts. I mean, I know what happened with Daredevil and all that stuff just from listening to those, but I have not been picking that up. Is he the god? No, that's in that War of the Realms where he's like the god.
God Scrolls, yeah, or the War Scrolls, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, we'll move on to Joe, since nobody else read Daredevil this week.
Now let's talk about some Immortal Hulk, and this thing should be getting boring by now. It legitimately should, but it's not. This has been awesome. We finally see Red Harpy for the first time. This Red Harpy character, and then we also see Abomination. I thought they did a great job with the illustration of Abomination in this. It's scary. It fits the tone of the story. It's not ridiculous. I thought it was good, but what I found most interesting is at the beginning they always have these little quotes and little religious things in it, and right there at the beginning of the book they have that quote. The quote came from James Taylor. It's actually from a book that he wrote. The book is called, well, it's actually 2 books. Let me find it. Rule and Exercises for Holy Dying. Well, James Taylor also wrote a book called Rules and Exercise for Holy Living as well. Both of the books were written about the 1650s. James Taylor was a prominent clergyman at the time. So basically, the book does nothing more than it instructs the reading on living victoriously and primarily without temptations and avoiding temptations. In the death one, and living or wholly dying, the book instructs and means instruments of preparing one for a blessed death, because death was kind of something that was prominent at that time. So how do you die respectfully? And I think that tone, this kind of religious / horror tone, kind of fits this story perfectly. I really get excited whenever I pick up Immortal Hulk, that there's really something more to it than just a comic book to it. Really great stuff. Highly recommend it. Actually, I went ahead and ordered the 2 James Taylor books too on my Kindle, just so I can read about that. And that's really what I like about this particular comic book series. I find something else that I can get out of it, look up, and do, and it's been joyful. Plus, it's just a great monster story. Joe Fixit is still somewhat involved. We have the Devil Hulk, I think is what we're calling him now. Tearing things up, but he's somewhat intelligent at the same time. All these different personalities. It's like a smorgasbord of just split personalities happening, and I'm enjoying that. It's a hard stash for me.
You're not talking about James Taylor, the singer-songwriter. You're talking about Jeremy Taylor?
No, it's James Taylor. That's the guy's name. The author, the clergyman from 1650.
It says Jeremy Taylor in the book.
Does it? Did I mess that up? I did mess that up. I did. I looked. I had changed something else. Yeah, Jeremy Taylor.
I wasn't sure if he's the one that wrote Fire and Rain. So I'm like, oh, okay, that guy is done a lot more than writing some songs.
He's a well-rounded individual.
Yeah,
Yeah, right. He's kind of all over the place. Yeah, but yeah.
This has been a great book. Abomination was kind of a cool looking character with his hands for a mouth kind of thing. We do find out that Doc Samson's still alive. He didn't get blown up in that blast, you know. I do like how Banner's like, he's like, oh crap, I'm Joe Fixit right now, and he's trying to act like Joe Fixit, but he really doesn't know how to act like it. And they're like something's off. He does give a list of like, in the Banner form, I'm Bruce and I'm Joe Fixit. In Hulk form, I'm Devil Hulk or Savage Child Hulk. And Missing Adornment, this Professor and Green Scar. So, I mean, he kind of gives us a list of, kind of what's going on and all these different personalities and things that are going inside of him. And he's trying to figure it out still. What I do like about this, too, it's like, I think the Absorbing Man kind of was the same way, or there was a different character earlier in the series when he's fighting Abomination toward the end of the book, which is awesome because he just starts clocking him, clobbering him. I don't want to use a thing, but they had a big old fight. And the is it Rick? I think Rick Jones. That's the one who's Abomination now.
Yeah.
He kind of, I don't know if he rips him open, but the mouth opens real wide and he's saying, help me, which is, I think, something that's kind of reoccurred, like I said earlier in the series, about these people who are kind of almost trapped inside the other monsters, and he's almost there to try to kill them in order to release them from what they are. So I don't know if that's going to continue to happen, but yeah, this has been a great book. Great cover on that too. I love that cover, even though you don't see the eyes, but it gives that dark kind of cover, So this has been. Oh, what did I do? What did I get on my stuff? Got something on the cover of my book. Damn it! But this has been a great story. LCS, I mean, they ordered a crap ton of these, and these were getting sold out. He said when they were first ordering them, it was hard. I mean, they had them all on the shelf. They couldn't hardly get rid of them. But now it seems like it's caught steam, and it's picking up and rolling, and it's a pretty popular title now. So, okay, let's go. Where we're about. So almost half an hour already. Let's go with Anarch Press Horror Comics #1, and maybe just a one shot. I don't know. That's what it feels like to me. So yeah, that's the cover I got too. Was just that old school pre-code horror, almost kind of looking book. The whole story is this guy who's a psychopath, who's an ice cream man who kills people and puts them in his ice cream to make his special ice cream and sells to everybody. Art was I didn't like the art very much. Story was, I don't think it was anything really original. You watch Tales from the Crypt or you watch that stuff, you've seen it. There was one scene in here. Oh man, that I tell you what, that Jehovah Witness, he did really wanted to get in the house. I never have seen a Jehovah Witness that aggressive. He's like, he says it's her little lover, where this woman he has captured down in the basement, but he's getting ready to chop her up and put her in the ice cream. And I'm trying to get there. There we go. Now I'm on the screen. It was Joe on the screen. So he's going to chop her up, put her in the ice cream. And the doorbell rings. Jehovah's Witness like, no, thanks, sorry. And Jehovah's Witness is like trying to cram his way into the house. And I think it's against their religion to try to really force a way into somebody's house. But maybe, like I said, maybe it was her lover or her boyfriend trying to save her. I don't know. But when I turned the page, when he has a knife up to her and he freaking slits her throat, I was really taken back by how almost graphic that was. But I don't know. To me, it's not original. It says the end with a question mark. I don't know where they can go further with this unless they plan on making it like a more detective kind of story, horror story. But I don't know. I would pass on it. This is a blast for me. And Joe read that one as well.
Yeah, I just got kind of hung up in the nuances of this. How do you make humans into ice cream? How does that work? I get if he was making hamburger or steaks or pizza, but how exactly do you? Maybe I can't fathom it. Maybe somebody in the chat can explain it. Maybe you're just liquefying it. I don't know. But I will say this is classic golden age storytelling here. Pre-code, just shock and awe, try to shock an audience into, oh my God, I can't believe that happened. The problem with that is that as a society, we're kind of used to awful and horrible things. So reading it was just like when she slit the throat, it was more of a, oh, I went a little far. And then I just kind of kept reading it. So yeah, I get where they were going with this and I can appreciate that. But again, like you said, I just kind of read it. It was like if this book was a little thicker and it had 3 more stories in it and they really kind of did a Tales of the Crypt kind of thing with it, or if it had like some cool twist at the end, we kind of knew reading it right there in the beginning what was going to happen. So there was no twist or anything shocking at the end other than a kid buying an ice cream made of human parts. Again, don't know how that works, but I'll buy it. And yeah, that whole Jehovah's Witness thing, I didn't get that at all. It was just like something just happened in the book. And I was like, that doesn't even make sense. Like we have Mormons and Jehovah's Witnesses all the time knocking on our doors around here. And I constantly slam the door in their face. They never try to.
Like he said, I don't know if it's true. And he says like it's her boyfriend. And I don't know if maybe he was posing as Jehovah's Witness trying to gain access. I don't know. Was he a real witness or was he actual boyfriend? They never really explained it. He's that's what he says.
It just kind of left it up to interpretation, I guess, which I get. Writers would do that. That's cool. But my question is like, is she the first one he's killed to make ice cream out of? Is this a regular thing he's done? Because it seems very well planned and very thought out. He's very maniacal in his whole comic book. So I'm just trying to figure out, and obviously it's his wife, right? Because nobody's seen her for a few days in yoga class, yada, yada, yada. But yeah, I don't know. For what it was didn't need to be a comic book. It could have been a comic strip in a newspaper, and you would have gotten the same story.
Yeah, I think he used her for his flavor of the month, Chunky Beaver, probably.
Chunky Beaver.
Yeah. So, a Chunky Beaver or something. You can come up with some other.
With that line. That's pretty good.
We'll go back to Paul. Does he have any Chunky Beaver jokes?
No, we're trying to avoid them. It's a family show.
Yeah. That's Marvel, yeah.
Let's do Batman Last Night on Earth. I really dug this. I mean, this is what Black Label was supposed to be. No Bat Dong, just a compelling Elseworld story that allows a good writer to shine. I'm really interested to see where it goes. I mean, it's kind of makes me think of a post-apocalyptic kind of tale because everybody's underground in Gem World, and Batman's trying to figure out what the heck is going on. And at some point he's going to try and find Superman. I mean, that was pretty well foreshadowed, but it's not continuity. I don't care. It's good. I'm going to keep reading it.
Joe, what you think of Batman Last Night on Earth?
I want to like this. I genuinely do. But it was just kind of confusing in the beginning when they had the whole Arkham thing, and then all of a sudden it transitioned into this post-apocalyptic world, and I didn't catch. I thought I was reading another story because the transition was just so contrast.
I will agree. The transition for that was kind of muddled, but.
And then, of course, in the Arkham there, all the doctors and everything are really villains, and they tried to do the whole, you're crazy thing. And one of the doctors was supposed to be the Joker, but then there's the head of the Joker and the Lantern. And I was just like, I'm kind of lost here, but I do like the concept that they're going with. I think it's interesting, definitely. So I'm not going to judge the entire series off book one. I generally try to avoid that. We'll get 2 in here and see if maybe this cleans up a little bit and it makes a little bit more sense. And we'll see where we go from there. But yeah, it just seemed like just some pages were just there to fill a book. Like it did, like a lot of over explanation on Wonder Woman's part. That was 2 pages. It didn't need to be the 4 pages or 5 pages that it was. But I get it. They're trying to create an entire world, and they want to be sure that we understand everything right now. So as we go into issues 2 and 3 and whatever else, we can kind of stream out this story and smooth it out a little bit. As long as that's what they're doing, I am cool with that. But if the book's just going to constantly be this muddled mess going forward, I'll end up dropping it. So for right now, it's a soft stash for me.
The one thing I did like was when Wonder Woman was explaining what happened. Essentially, what it was is Lex Luthor got up there and said, only the elite are getting better. So be an asshole. Do what you want.
Yeah, do what you want. I get that. I tell people that all the time. This is America. Do what you want.
Yeah, when you see Snyder and Capullo on a book, you automatically think this is going to be good. That I was super excited. This was my on top of my stack to read this week. To go on a little bit more where you're talking about. So at the beginning, we got Batman going out trying to figure out somebody's been writing these chalk lines all over, and he's able to figure out it's essentially a outline of the dead Batman, and that somebody's been doing it. Should be trying to figure that out. I think a bomb goes off, and then he wakes up in a hospital, strapped to a bed, and like you said, Joe, all the doctors, the nurses, the people are actually villains, but he's actually younger too. So we find out, like, what the hell? Why is Bruce younger? And we find out, I think is it a clone? Is that
essentially
what it is?
it's
Maybe?
like it? Yeah. I mean, when they showed that one panel, it's a giant egg. So I mean,
I do like, so they said this Batman persona is all in his head, and I'm thinking, oh god, here we go, Tom King, and that's what I was worried about. That's where we're going with this. And here Alfred is trying to explain to him, no, these people are your help. You've been trying to fight this whole time. I think they even said that he was the reason his parents were dead, that he'd killed his parents.
Yeah,
he killed them.
Yeah. And he says, no, I remember the cowl, I remember the costume, and Bruce or Alfred shows the mask that he was supposed to wear to keep him safe, and the straitjacket, and he goes, no, this is what you've been wearing. This is not a costume. This is to keep you medically secure. And so art is on point. I love Capullo's art. I think that's great. Yeah, the transition from that mental hospital to all of a sudden now he's in the middle of this orange landscape, this desert.
Yeah.
It's a really rough
The
cut.
biggest thing he's having a hard time with is, again, in the hospital, everything that he's ever done is being perceived as an hallucination or some sort of mental illness. But then when we transition to the desert scene, everybody knows him as Batman, and these people do exist. So I'm like, well, what was the point of the hospital to begin with?
Well, he's still wearing that straitjacket, that outfit that he was wearing in the hospital.
Yeah, but then he picks up his costume.
Yeah.
So it obviously wasn't a mental health thing. So who are all these people in the Arkham Hospital? Does that make sense? Am I making sense?
No, I mean, that doesn't make sense at all. But yeah, I'll probably end up picking this up. I think it's probably only what was the other one? 3 issues. There's probably only 3 or 4 issues long. So I'll probably end up picking all of them up anyhow too. But this is probably my pick of the week just because it was Snyder Capullo and a different take on Batman, that Elseworld story like Paul was talking about. I did get both covers. I got the Jock cover and the cover A. But I like the Prestige format. It's a big book, but I think it's $6 for it. Yeah, which is nice. It's not too bad. If you look at the Leviathan Rising, that was $10 this week. And
standard books are going for $5 these days.
Yeah, definitely. And so this is definitely well worth your money, and I would definitely pick this up. This is good stuff.
I still want to hear all the end of all the limericks that the Joker was starting though.
Oh yeah, didn't he start? There once was a man from Nantucket. Did he start that one?
Yeah,
I know that one. What was the other one he started?
I don't even remember. I think it was about a woman, but I don't.
Yeah. So it's the same type of humor going into it.
I'm sure you could probably type the first few words into Google and it'll pop right up.
Right.
Definitely stash for me too. Joe, we'll go back to you and your next book of the week.
We haven't really been talking a whole lot about Marvel stuff, so let's talk about Amazing Spider-Man number 22. Man, this is my pick of the week. The story right here. How do you kill off a villain in a book and still want him to seem noble or anything along those lines? This is how you do it. This brings us to the end of the Hunt series. I absolutely love this. Craven's son has cut his teeth to prove himself to be a badass. And Craven knows, because of his prophecies, that the Black Spider-Man suit will kill him. And it does. I'll go ahead and spoil it right now. He puts it on so his son can kill him because he knows that he needs his glorious hunter's death. I really like this whole play with Craven. And it's the first time they've done it where they've kind of presented Craven as this more noble savage. And I'm really digging that about him. The whole hunter, the spirit of the hunter, but he's savage in nature and wanting to hunt. And I like that and how much it means to him, the passion of that coming out and how he doesn't want to kill Spider-Man. He's actually just in awe of him as a beautiful beast and truly unique. And that was just really a lot of heart into it. It was a great storytelling. I like this version of Craven. It just makes sense. It's just a shame to see him go. It was awesome. So way to end the series. Good writing, great art in it. The splash pages are clean and beautiful. I can't say enough about this. This was just an epically good story.
I can't believe they haven't done anything with that character from that first issue yet, from that run.
Yeah, that's the thing. Well, we do know that he was hanging out with Mary Jane at the apartment in the background in one of the issues, and Spider-Man is now leaving because he knows something's wrong there. So we may start seeing him in the next couple of issues as he starts playing into the story a little bit more. But yeah, great marketing technique. Keep people on a hook. Maybe he'll show up, maybe he won't. They threw him on a cover. It's constant. That's all that is. It's hook and draw. But yeah, we should be seeing something with him soon.
Okay, I'm going to move on to Fantastic Four number 10. This is actually a War of the Realms tie-in, and I don't think it really had much of a tie-in. I think they had like 2 things that was a tie-in to it. Other than that, it could have been just a regular story, but if they're going to include the Fantastic Four into the War of the Realms, I guess this is why they need to do it. But the whole story actually is about Franklin and Valeria. The Susan and Mr. Fantastic's kids. You know, they saved them from Doctor Doom, and now they're in trouble. Now they're thinking, oh, what can we do to punish you? Even though, yes, you saved us, you need to show, you know, you disrespected the people that were watching you. We need to come up with some kind of punishment. Franklin's working at the Grimm Youth Center, which it says it's a last seen in thing number 6. I don't remember ever seeing that. Maybe it's an older issue that Ben Grimm had started a youth center. So Franklin's there. He's volunteering his time. And the other kids there think, oh, you think you're something special? They start picking on him. And he says, I got enough power that I could destroy you all. I created universes, destroyed them. And he says, of course, you're not worth it. And then they talked about Yancey Street kids and how the Yancey way and all that stuff. And Grimm and Mr. Scheckenberg step out and say, hey, knock it off. And the one kid's like, yeah, try me. Next time they will be here to save you. You know, that whole little nerdy kid in glasses. And I'm thinking, like, dude, what the hell is that? and they talk about how, well, they really haven't introduced Franklin and Valeria to Yancey Street because they're kind of out in the, you know, just got there. They have a big block party, Fantastic Four block party. And they're meeting all their neighbors and all that fun stuff. I forgot to mention at the first of it too, Valeria's trying to reach out. She created this extender essentially for her cell phone, trying to catch her old friends from the other universes, because she says she's so bored because nothing happens on Yancey Street. You know, Frost Giants show up, which I get that's connection number 1 to the War of the Realms. They're there to destroy or whatever that enhancer that Valeria had created. I don't know why. As soon as they find that out, Franklin destroys it, and they just start walking away. That's it. They just walk away.
Yeah, that didn't make any sense. They're right there. Yeah.
They have this, like, you know, this New York mentality of, you mess with one New Yorker, you mess with them all. You know, and they have this Yancey Street brawl, and they have baseball bats and sledgehammers out there. They're getting ready to bust some balls, you know. I thought that was kind of cheesy. Like, these normal people are gonna go up against Frost Giants and try to make a difference. But as soon as that thing's blown up, they just walk away. You know, Franklin realizes that he does have power. His power is depleting every time he uses it, though. And I don't know if that's something he's going to be totally powerless by the time whatever this is done, or if he's going to gain powers again. But Fantastic Four end up leaving because they know something. They know that these guys are Asgardian or related to Asgardian. So therefore, Thor's involved. Therefore, they need the help. So they leave Franklin and Valeria and Moon Girl. That's right. She showed up with Devil Dinosaur to that block party. So they're to defend Yancey Street. And they said, yep, you know, Franklin finally realized and accept his power and what his place is. I don't know. I think you didn't have to tie that in, I don't think, through War of the Realms. But Dan Slott on Fantastic Four has been pretty good. That's an okay book. I don't know if I'd blast it, but I don't know if we need to tie it into War of the Realms. So. But what'd you think of the Yancey Street people, Joe?
This book is just fun bravado, but it's also ultimately a story of community. You know, when you're part of the cosmic universe, you know, how honestly excited can you be in being part of a zip code or a street, you know, and the kids kind of show that. We're used to all this, the infinite universe. And here I am locked down to a few blocks at a community center, and I'm expected to be just like everybody else when I'm objectively different than everybody else. So what brings that together? Nothing brings people together more than an event. Whether it's fighting or whether it's commemorating or whatever the case is. So the event brings everybody together, and then they kind of find out what the mean streets of Yancey are like. Yeah, the kids are a little rough, very bravado-based. Even in there, at one point, I believe one of the characters, the Frost Giants, kind of break through a little bit, and he kind of backing up a little bit, like, really, we're going to do this? Like, because the Frost Giants are coming. It's a fun read. There's no doubt about that. I'm not particularly interested in this Moon Girl Devil Dinosaur thing. It's not really my thing. But it was a funny one-off character that was in there. Why she wears a boxing glove on one hand, I Again, I wish Drew was here. He would be able to. I know he reads those books, and she's objectively smart as well, right? So yeah, I think all in all, it's a fun story. I don't really blast it or stash it. Just when you get a stack of books and it's just kind of in there, it made me laugh a little bit. It was a nice little break from the monotony of reading a bunch of stories. And as far as you're right, as far as it being a War of the Realms, maybe it's the introduction of the Fantastic Four into the War of Realms. Maybe that's the connecting piece to it. But other than that, yeah, it's just a fun, stupid story, and I can't wait to see some Fantastic Four action. I've been enjoying War of the Realms. I've been trying to be careful of what issues I get, which ones I don't, because I don't need every single tie-in for every single issue, although I have bought all the number ones so far, and possibly even number twos for every one so far. But other than that, yeah, it's just a good read, good fun. Reads like a child's book. It's got some humor in it, so why not? So yeah, I guess a soft stash for me.
Yeah, I know you didn't read that, Paul. Do you have any other books this week?
No, I am done for this week.
You're done. So you just get to sit back and listen to us.
Yep.
BS about books now. So let's talk about another book that I'm the only one that read, and that is Detective Comics Annual number 2. And so this whole book talks about the Black Case book. I think that was introduced in I thought it was that Batman Detective Comics 1000. They talked about that, the old books. And so the Reaper, I think that's the character's name, is back, and Batman thought that he had killed or took care of the Reaper. The Reaper was dead, and but he's out serving justice again. Racer Head or Racer Man, he makes an appearance in his book. At first I thought, what the hell's up with that dude's head? But then it's the Eraser guy. So Batman captures again, and he's talking to Gordon, and apparently now Bruce has got Gordon off of smoking. Now he's stuck to lollipops. I guess we're moving on. So smoking is bad, lollipop's good. But this whole story is about the Reaper being back in Greece, and so Bruce decides he's going to go to Greece to find the Reaper, and that's the whole story essentially. And if he finds where they're at, and has a fight with the Reaper Prime. I guess maybe that's the first appearance of that character, but really for $5, I mean, it's a big, thick book. I think it's a one and done kind of story, so it's nothing you need to read to be on Detective Comics. I don't know. It's a blast. Not for $5. Pick it up in your dollar bin later on. Not worth it. Back to Joe.
Let's talk about Superman, Leviathan Rising. Now, first off, I thought we were going to get some more insight with this special book for Leviathan. Truth is, the books before this one probably gave you more information than this one did. But with that said, this is a good Superman story. Just a quick recap. All the secret organizations, the DEO, the Spooky Ookie agents, Leviathan's gone through and destroyed all of them except for one secret one that he's getting advice from because he kind of respects the lady. We also see the car that being smashed. She has a collection of basically Superman memorabilia, and one of those things being the car that you see in Action Comics #1 being smashed. In this one, Ra's al Ghul's daughter kidnaps Clark Kent. Resets the orders that Leviathan had given her, and they don't know, but they put a kryptonite vest on him, so when Superman shows up to save Clark Kent, he's infected, right? Well, that's wasn't working that way. Leviathan ends up letting him go because he finds out what she did, and then basically they're flying along, kind of arguing about it, and Leviathan just chucks her out the door. It was kind of awesome. It's like, I don't need this. Bye. Superman flies in, of course, saves her at the last minute. Blah, blah, blah. They banter a little bit about going to prison or whatever. So, yeah, I'm liking this. This is fun. The Justice League has been called up. We get a quick story about Jimmy Olsen and his role in this too, because they're going to relaunch the Superman Pals Jimmy Olsen storyline, or comic book, I should say. So he's got a quick bit in here. It's kind of stupid. It's not really that interesting. But the story itself is, I don't know, I kind of like it. I don't know why I like it. I just do. It's just a fun read. I like it when they bring in these kind of eclectic characters from the past, like Mr. Bones. You know, he's constantly being talked about in here, and things along those lines. So yeah, I'm kind of digging this. I'm going to chase this event down and see and report on it.
Okay. I was just flipping through this Thanos #2 book, trying to, I said I didn't get any notes down, so I'm trying to remember some important parts of this. So at the, so this is the story of Gamora and Thanos and their relationship and how it started. So Gamora's the only one left on her planet. Thanos has destroyed everybody else, and they talk. She says this numerous times throughout the books. We don't fight, we survive. So they're kind of a peaceful race, but
That's just, yeah.
You don't think like, okay, well, they just survive, but she figures out how to survive, and sometimes that surviving means using violence in order to survive. So she kind of talks about the beginning where Thanos talks about she sees death, and she says she sees death too, and that's kind of the only thing that really saves her. That's the reason why he takes her on board of the ship rather than just killing her and wiping out her whole race. She gets thrown into jail by Ebony Maw. The cell bars keep changing in width. Some panels she could just like walk right out. Why does she need to try to escape? And other panels are a little narrower. But Ebony Maw brings her food and it's like, I'm not going to give you this. I'm not inclined to share it, not without reason. And he just says, tell me about why the captain brought you on board. And he kind of steps closer to the bars. She knocks the food into his face, stabs him with a fork, grabs a button, and lets herself out. And so Ebony Maw and the rest of the people on board are trying to find her. From what I know from Ebony Maw, this didn't really fit his character. He seemed like he's like more of a comedy kind of guy here versus a very precise kind of person, how he's portrayed in movies. At least I never have read much of him from the books. So they're trying to find her throughout the whole book. Thanos is still getting like visions or something in his head from, I think it's, is it Magnus? I don't remember who it was. The computer's talking and he keeps getting visions and thoughts in his head. And actually, Gamora can hear him too. She talks about it later on. So it builds this connection between Gamora and Thanos. And he seems like he's starting to trust her more than his own crew throughout the whole book. Because he says, how did you escape? And she says, I did. She's not really, turning anybody in. But I know Thanos blasts somebody. I forgot who it was. The spider-looking dude.
The roach thing, yeah.
Yeah. And this dude just blasts him in the face. He had nothing to do with it either. This isn't too bad. I mean, I kind of like to see how their relationship builds. I mean, we know that there's some hatred and stuff later on. I mean, there's hatred now as well, but how she survives, how does she figure out how to survive? Again, they don't fight, they survive. And that's going to be kind of, I think, interesting for me, how she gets older and learns skills and stuff. So it's Stash. Joe, how about you for Thanos #2?
Yeah, this was pretty cool. I'm kind of digging this cover here.
What cover is that? I haven't seen that one.
Different. Yeah, it's, I forget who did it. Anyway, that was one of them. This is one of the ratio ones. I like this story. This is pre-Black Order. They're called something else like the Bash Squad or something like that. We have Proxima Midnight in it and Ebony Maw. Those are the only two recognizable Black Order people in it. So I'm kind of curious to see if they kind of develop that Black Order as well as we go through the story since it's so early. But yeah, I kind of like this. He kind of sees something in Gamora, right? They both see death, but he kind of sees something else about her, and he kind of can't quite put his finger on it either, but he genuinely likes Gamora. Maybe she could be turned. Maybe the fact that she's a pacifist that's turning into a killer or using violence. Maybe that's so fresh to him to see the beginnings of that from a passive society. Maybe that's what he's enjoying. The overarching problem in this comic book is the Church of Universal Truth. They're out there trying to convert people as well. So that's going to be something that's going to pop back up later and should be kind of interesting. So I like it for it's really just canon, I guess is the best way to put it. You know, it's what you seen it in the movies, you've seen them as a kid. So tell us more of that story. That's all they're really filling in the blanks here on that, which is kind of cool because this particular Thanos, or this version of Thanos, is kind of a cross between the older comic book Thanos, the insane mad titan that sees death, and he's a little bit like the one you're used to in the movies now. It's kind of a little bit of both of those meshed into one. And we got Gamora, who's going to start learning how to kill people. So that's kind of interesting. Like, I didn't know Gamora's race was pacifist. I never thought to think that, or where she came from. Never knew it. So that's kind of interesting. So yeah, kind of watching that play out. That should be kind of fun. I'll read a couple more issues of it. Hopefully I get to see how the Black Order was actually created and where these cats come from. I think I'm more excited about that than I am Gamora growing up, learning how to use a knife.
Yeah, I never thought about it as Thanos, kind of intrigued by the thought of her people being a pacifist and her learning how to survive by using violence versus however they survive. I never thought about that, but that's good stuff. I'm out of books too now this week. I got a couple other to show off covers and stuff, but that's all I've read this week. So I know you have looks like you have 3 others to go through.
I have a couple others. I'll just blow through these real quick like I normally do. Some more War of the Realm stuff. War Scroll's awesome. I kind of wish I did a review on that. We get 3 great stories in this one and 2 very great stories. We find out Doctor Strange is a lot more open to interpretation. He talks to Nightmare and kind of brings a psychological aspect to it that Doctor Strange didn't mention when he was trying to save everybody and kind of mess things up at the same time. And we get a great story with Daredevil in it as well. And then the final story that was in it, I'm not really sure what they were trying to tell me in that one, so I just stopped reading it. War of the Realms, Spider-Man, The League of Realms. This is just dumb cannon fodder, War of the Realms stuff. The Angels want to fight the Angels because of a love interest and words, wars, feels, yada, yada, yada. It was pretty much a blast. I didn't much care for it. The rest of everything else that I got was pretty much indie stuff. I got Exciting Comics #2. This is the last one I'll be buying of this. They had a cool concept of taking Golden Age type characters, updating them a little bit, and throwing them into things today. But the writing in this is just really bad, and the dialogue is kind of cheesy. Spawn, we're on the road to 300. A lot of speculation on it, so I've been picking all those up. I didn't much care for the style of art in this, and there's a lot of narrative in this particular issue. And last but not least, just some dumb fun that I love reading every now and then. Conspiracy, Illuminati. They kind of take all the mainstream conspiracy theories out there and put them into a streamlined story. This was the last issue dealing with the lizard people. So it's just stupid fun. It had a little bit of a twist ending to it that I really enjoyed. But yeah, that's done, and that's a shame because it really is just a fun, stupid story poking fun at people that believe in things like, I don't know, flat Earth and whatever else. And if you're in the chat right now and you believe in flat Earth, you're wrong. I try not to tell people they're wrong, but you are wrong. I'm sorry. That's all my books.
Going on conspiracy before I jump into the books. So I was at the gym today. I was getting ready for work, putting my uniform on, and this guy saw Parks emblem on my shirt. So he started asking me questions. He says, "Have I ever seen Sasquatch?" This guy was being dead serious. And I'm like, well, I don't work out in the woods. I work in a park. He said, "No, okay. What's the weirdest thing you've ever seen in the park?" Just totally going off. And I'm like, well, I said, I've worked pretty late in the parks, I mean, you're working at night, the plays tricks on your eye, just, but nothing. I never have seen anything. And then he starts talking about, have you ever seen an elk with his neck totally broken? And like twisted completely around. I'm like, no. He said, that's how the Sasquatch hunt. I was like, what in the hell is this guy talking about?
Did you start talking to him about strangling raccoons and how?
I didn't talk about strangling raccoons.
Little did he know he was talking to a half Squatch.
I told him that I had been called Sasquatch before. But yeah, I was just like, what the hell is this guy talking about? Get me the hell out of here. As I'm leaving the locker room.
It's a wonderful drug.
I mean, this guy's like in his 50s. And as I'm leaving the locker room, I hear him, yeah, I saw him roll his eyes. I'm like, what the hell, dude? Make sure to check the time and make sure to not go to that time again so that dude's not there. Some other books. I picked up X-23 number 12. I like that cover. That's a pretty cool cover. That's the final issue of that run. Of course, I always pick up the Marvel Greatest, the dollar books, Kraven's Last Hunt, and the Silver Surfer. Always grab those. Walking Dead 191 second print. This is the issue where Rick Grimes gets shot in the chest at the end. Very rare that Walking Dead does a second print on those. Thor number 13, that 25th anniversary, the Alex Ross cover. That's a pretty cool cover. I'm so behind on Thor, it's not even funny. And just another back issue I picked up was DC Comics Presents number 27, the first Mongrel. I think that's what that is.
Yeah.
So picked up that one. So that's all the books I got this week. I'm surprised Mike hasn't come in here with his awkward question for Huey yet. Maybe he won't. Maybe we'll miss him. And maybe he'll put it in the chat or something later on. So before we go to our last minute shoutouts, I totally spaced. I need to order the book for the month of May for our Patreon winners. I will get that order today, and I will release it, show which book we're getting, and we'll announce the winner next week for that. So I'll get that out. Go to our Patreon. So that's where you can get entered into the contest for that book of the month. There were no really great covers for Leslie or Mighty LJ to pick from this week. There were no great cover B's, the Virgin covers, nothing like that. So I didn't even bring any to her to say, hey, check this out. So we're not going to do one of those this week. Check out our podcast where we take the audio from this show and the audio from, I did a stupid little Lois Lane thing on there, which I didn't edit. I listened to it later. I'm like, oh, dude, what a moron. But it's on our talking about Lois Lane run and talking about some of the keys and the cost of those books. Hopefully tonight, Mighty LJ and I will be recording the Saga episode to be putting on the podcast. We're late doing that. She finally read it. She's been out of town, so we're going to be hopefully doing that tonight after I get off work. Check out our Facebook page, our Twitter, all that fun stuff. Interact with us there. I also got the web page up where I put some blog stuff on there. Talked about time, talked about stuff changing and how stuff we've done over the past 3 years of doing this show. And that's why we're recording it in the morning to premiere tonight, is because we still want to continue to do this. I think all of us kind of still have a love for comics. It's just hard. I mean, life gets in the way. Schedules change, kids, sickness, all that fun stuff gets in the way of this. But we still want to continue moving forward, even if it's just a couple of us getting out here talking about books. So definitely go check that stuff out. And we'll hand it on to Paul before we knock it out of here.
All right. Like always, thank you for the people who will be watching this when it premieres. You're the reason we do this. But kind of this is a tie-in. I always said we would just sit around and do it by ourselves if we had to.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what we're doing.
Yeah, pretty much.
Keep checking us out, and we'll see you next week.
Joe?
Hey, check us out on our other social media outlets. I believe my villains contest actually ends tomorrow. So later on at night, I'll actually be picking the winner on the 4th, June 4th. So if you haven't entered that yet, definitely do it. Some great stuff in there. And find some way to let me know. I just want to give you some cool books. Other than that, thanks for being in the chat. I should be in the chat too. This is me predicting the future. So, thanks again, guys, and all of our viewers. Thank you very much. Please engage with us. That's not a problem. That's all I got.
I should be in the chat too, because I get off at the time that we're supposed to go live, which irritates me because it takes me about 20-25 minutes to get home. And I'm like, crap, this just pushes just out of the window for you guys being East Coast guys and me being West Coast to kind of really, I mean, especially on Sunday night when you guys gotta get up and go to work Monday morning.
Yeah,
really.
You should just quit and just come move over here. We have parks and stuff here in Virginia.
Yeah, I could do that. I think my wife would be open to that. Maybe. I think Mike has a contest going on too right now, doesn't he?
Yes, he has the 500 subscribers. There's 5 different covers he wants you to show. One is a skulls cover, something with a skull on it, a shark cover, meat and potatoes cover, black and red cover, and a watch the video. Forgot
number 5. So definitely go check out Mike. Check out Joe's contest. Joe, got a couple more days for Joe. So go in there and get that in there. Maybe win some cool books. Joe's always picking up the gold and silver age books. Super cheap. I'm always jealous of him. Always showing off these damn 10-cent covers.
As a matter of fact, I'll be doing trying to get another auction together off that people's website that I use.
Mm-hmm.
We should have that done up by the end of the month. And I'll be honest with you, that's for estate sales worth of comic books. It's gold. It's gold, it's silver, it's modern, like a little bit of everything in this. It's going to be probably one of my largest ones. And we start all the bidding off on either lots or individuals. Everything starts off at $3. So spend what you're comfortable with.
I think that's it. Yes, it is. Whether you blast it, whether you sash, happy reading, and we'll catch you guys next week. Laters.